Hi! If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're already familiar with the debate over whether or not you need dysphoria to be trans. Some say you do because gender dysphoria is a defining part of being trans. Some say you don't because what really matters is gender euphoria. But that got me thinking, do you need gender euphoria to be trans? That's the topic of this video. Hello everyone, welcome back and happy Pride. My name's Maddie and here on this channel we make videos about LGBT issues and mental health. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, consider subscribing. Before we get started, I wanted to make one quick announcement. For the past year, almost to the day, we've been uploading 2 copies of our videos, one with music and one without. The only exception is last week's upload because it was a bit too long for me to add music to. So if you're a fan of background music like I am, you can watch the main public upload, but if you prefer to focus on the words without the music like some of my loved ones, you can click the link in the description below or click the card that should pop up in the top right corner of your screen. I got this idea from the ring system here on YouTube. I want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. But yeah, you can do that for all videos from June 2020 onward. I just don't think I've ever properly announced that. Also, this is more of a pre-announcement, but big news coming next week. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm excited to share it, but it's not quite ready yet. Should be next week though, so stay tuned. Anyway, let's jump into today's topic. About 2 years ago, I uploaded a video called Do You Need Dysphoria to be Trans? It's honestly the most terrifying video I've made to date because I've seen people get so much hate for expressing opinions on this issue, especially the opinions that I shared in that video. If you want to check that video out, you can click the card that should be popping up right about now. Honestly, you should head over to that video for the comment section. So many lovely people shared their stories there and gradually helped me understand how some people could claim an identity as trans without experiencing dysphoria. I won't say that I completely understand, simply because of my own experience with debilitating dysphoria, but I will say that I'm now firmly in the camp of you do not need dysphoria to be trans. But here's the thing. A lot of people who say you don't need dysphoria to be trans are naturally people who have lived that experience. They're the people I learned from because, as I mentioned before, dysphoria will knock me flat on my ass and straight up ruin my whole entire day. Dysphoria is the worst, and so I couldn't quite understand where they were coming from. I respected them, but they didn't make a lick of sense to me at the time. But the explanation that I basically got from a number of non-dysphoric trans folks was basically, we didn't experience gender dysphoria prior to figuring out our gender. We experienced gender neutrality. We were kinda apathetic about our understood gender, but when we experienced gender euphoria, it was then that we realized that we were trans. We moved towards the feelings of gender euphoria, not away from the feelings of gender dysphoria. And that made sense to me. But then I kinda started to wonder, if not every trans person experiences dysphoria, does every trans person experience euphoria? Because if you can be trans without the devastating lows that sometimes come with it, doesn't that mean it's possible that you can be trans without the sublime highs that we sometimes experience? What are we to make of the person who says, I don't dislike the gendered aspects of my body, I don't care what gender people see when they look at me, I am who I am, and my identity doesn't give me any real pleasure or displeasure, it just is what it is. Because if we're being perfectly honest, I feel like a lot of cis people probably feel that way. I could be wrong, I'm obviously not cis, so cis people feel free to correct me in the comments. But in my head, in my admittedly very trans way of thinking, there are cis people who literally just vibe with their gender. Someone mistakes them for another gender? No big deal. Someone asks them how they'd feel if they woke up as the opposite gender? They're chill with it. Like, just straight up gender vibing. Is that a thing? Am I making any sense? If I'm not making any sense, stick with me for a few more seconds. I promise this isn't my conclusion. I'm getting there. The point I'm trying to make is that if gender vibing is a thing for cis people, why wouldn't it be a thing for trans people? If cis people can be chill with their gender, not euphoric or dysphoric, why can't trans people? At the end of the day, figuring out whether or not you're trans comes down to one simple question. Do I 100% identify with the gender I was assigned at birth? If the answer is yes, you're cisgender. If the answer is no, you're likely transgender, either binary or non-binary. Most trans people may experience dysphoria and euphoria, but outliers are always going to exist. And in a world that so often tells trans people that we shouldn't exist, the last thing we need as a community is to police other people's identities and make them feel like they don't belong. Here on this channel, I hope to always stand for inclusivity, and my answer to the question, do you need euphoria to be trans, is no. That being said, I hope that every person watching this finds joy and happiness and euphoria of some kind in their life. And if you can't find it, maybe try to be it for someone else if you can. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content just like this. But more importantly, remember that you're wonderful, and that the world is a better place because you're in it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!